Hello.
This is different. What's different about this?
Okay, the joke's over. We're actually in separate places. We've just spliced the video together. That's what it is.
Mirrored, except ignore the tree. We've done our best to...
Hello, everyone. We are in beautiful Bellevue, Washington.
Alliteration going on there.
Yeah, beautiful Bellevue, Washington in the U.S. My friend Daryl came over, across the mini ponds. The big pond, actually.
Big pond.
Yes, we're at MVP Summit, man.
And we're here in person together. So
this is
good. The crazy subtle joke there is there's no split screen going on.
Yeah, we can...
how's it going, buddy? Nice to see you.
What's good is that, if we did that and actually split that, and I think we'd probably get some jobs and something.
Yeah, very much so. Welcome to Regarding 365. We are going to be attending a number of cool sessions here at MVP Summit, which, there'll be stuff we can't talk about, but there's a lot of stuff coming up, and clearly in the Message Center, there's plenty of stuff to talk about this week.
Yes.
Gone by.
Most certainly.
So let's just get right into it.
Dive in. Okay. Let's do it.
Boom. Boom. We have access to Microsoft Teams, Plans, and Planner Hub. Now, we talked about this last week because...
Yes, we did.
And it's the old story that it's really a juggle and difficult for Microsoft to get blog posts, release a feature, message and Message Center to come all at the right time.
Yeah.
So what did we see first of all? Recap from last week.
I think we saw blog posts first, didn't we? Or did we see actually in the app?
There was a blog post in the Microsoft Tech community.
Right, that's right.
And it was actually quite brief.
Yeah.
It was in the Planner blog, so it wasn't seen by everyone unless they follow the Planner blog or they're looking at content, going through the feed.
So, pro tip, here's what I did. I went into the tech community, to all the blogs that I was interested in, grabbed the RSS feed, and I set up a Microsoft flow for each one of those.
Right.
And so I get an email for every blog post. And if I don't like it or don't care, about that thing, whatever it is, I can just delete it and move on. Now, of course, that means I get a lot of email, but I'm okay. That's the way, I want to handle the content, right? I want to, gardener that and get that information out. So anyway, for Planner app, that's how it happened. Yeah, it came out in tech community.
I think I showed my tip, similar kind of thing. I dropped my RSS feeds into Feedly, and then I just checked that occasionally and come across it.
Right.
So that's how I learned about it, and then I got excited about it and did this live stream, and we mentioned it in last week's stuff. So
and here's the announcement.
Here's the announcement. So it's finally there in the Message Center. It should be sitting there, and so we are improving the Planner experience. That what it means is the plans that we create in a Teams channel are now going to be available in the Planner Hub.
In Planner Hub, that's right.
And the Planner experience in a Teams channel is very, very basic.
It is.
You've got buckets, you've got tasks, you can drag things around. They've added the personal view over on the app bar where I can go in and see the tasks that are assigned to me across all the plans that I'm part of.
Right.
What was missing was if you created a plan in a Teams channel, it wasn't showing up in the Planner Hub, and therefore you weren't really getting the full picture. Now you do. Which
defeated it's called the hub. So you wanted to see everything. Yeah. And again, this is just another MVP, minimal viable product here of getting it in there and making work and then doing other things. I'm okay with this. And I think as far as, having the blog post, we got to think about the audiences. The Message Center is about those who are admins who need to plan for their organizations. And so, a blog post is one thing, kind of announcing it to the world, right? And then the message in the Message Center is about, okay, here's what's coming, and you need to plan for it. You need to, no pun intended here for the planner, but you need to plan for it. So, but it is kind of the sequence. Is kind of interesting because sometimes we get an announcement, sometimes we get a blog post first. it's interesting. So.
And it was available on the day that the blog post mentioned it. So
yeah.
if you didn't see this message in the Message Center, you weren't able to tell your end users, hey, this is the new capability, here's what's coming. And, to be honest, there weren't any negative impacts to it or any massive usage experience changes. It was nothing but an improvement. So that's not such a big deal.
I agree. And, I think everyone who's watching this should do is they should watch our show every week. Make sure you subscribe and you look at the next week's thing, which will be up there, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
And it'll magically appear. And you should, after our show, or while we're doing our show, you should take notes, and then you send out a notification to your organization about the stuff that's coming up and why it's important, right?
Yeah.
You could easily do something like that, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So for this example, you're exactly right. This is new. It's improving on it. It's not a change in that there was something there and we're making it something different, right? It's just improving on it. So it's good.
Well, moving on up.
Yep.
Good to see the messages there.
Yeah, I agree.
SharePoint Online page usage information.
This is interesting, Daryl.
Yeah.
This is great, and this has been, I think, demoed, and I can't remember who demoed it, but showing page usage information for modern SharePoint pages on SharePoint Online. And this is for views and likes and comments, just kind of getting insight into how your pages are doing. This is a great thing. People have been wanting more analytics, and how is content in the SharePoint modern world being consumed, and this is good. So this is a great announcement. Read it up on it. It's great. The interesting thing about this, Daryl, is that this is actually not the title of this announcement that was originally put out when this announcement was put out.
What was it called to start with?
It was called SharePoint Social Bar.
Social Bar.
Social Bar, B-A-R.
That definitely suggests something else.
Maybe so.
No, I mean not in that sense, but Social Bar to me says there are icons that I can use to share it over my social channels. Maybe the likes and stuff are linked in some way to the old SharePoint Social.
SharePoint Social is something that people have been, and Microsoft has trying to grasp on. How do you bring in social into the enterprise, and how does that all work? Right, because, and I'll give an example here in a second, but so they've been kind of struggling. How do we do that, and how do we make it work to where it makes sense? Because initially it's like, you get everybody liking and commenting and favoriting and mentioning, and everyone's going to love it. It's going to be like other social tools people use, and they don't.
Yeah, well, what... in its history, what came in after that? It was Yammer, and this big focus on that's going to be our enterprise social tool. So SharePoint Social faded off in the background. It was still part of your on-premise experience. Now, and this is I guess we'll find out a bit more about this later in the week, because one of the Yammer product managers reached out to me. I shared my disappointment saying, oh look, the SharePoint, the Yammer embed app is there, and it's now on modern web pages, and I can... And what I was looking for was being able to embed a conversation so that people weren't taken away from the content, but they could talk about that page. Yeah,
you want to stay in the page. That's why you're putting it on the page in the first place, instead of a link.
Yeah, and that's what the new web part is. Maybe it's going to develop, but at the moment here's some cards that will take you off to conversations that could be about this page, but it's taking you away from the page. So that left me with this question of, well, what is this comments box that's down there at the bottom? That's what we're left with. Is if I want to leave some kind of conversation that people can respond to about a page, they can like it, but they want to talk about it. Yeah. The only thing we're left with is this SharePoint box. Is that it, or are we going to see a resurgence of SharePoint Social if Yammer's not going to be in its place?
Now you know as much as I do. Saying something has to stir in the pot is that no one on campus or not on campus would say that Yammer is there to replace anything. It's another option and et cetera of how you want to work. So that social aspect of SharePoint, of liking That stuff's been around still. I mean, this is not a new concept. I think originally this was called Social Bar when it was announced, and it was like, Social Bar.
Yeah.
So I think that was a little confusing, and so I don't know what the process was, but now calling it page usage, which is actually what it is. This announcement is, what you were talking about is, it said Social Bar. Oh, does that mean this and this and this? And no, it actually doesn't mean that. This is actually talking about page usage. Just like I said, comments and likes and views of the page.
So let's look at the.
Yep.
It says that those are the things that will display on the page. It will give your users the ability to like a page.
Yep.
To see the number of views.
Yep.
Likes, comments on a page, so we see them already. See the people who have liked the page. The visibility will be available to anyone that has been granted access to view the page.
Yep.
So what we're seeing too is pages are no longer just a thing that a SharePoint contributor or like a site owner contributes. They're now being touted as, this is the blog post that we've always wanted people to be able to write articles.
Yep.
So it becomes even more important to signify to that end user who wants to share their story, hey look, people are viewing it, people are liking it, people are making comments about it.
Yeah.
So I like that. I still got a question. So Yammer still has a big piece in the organization. It's definitely used as the outer loop discussion. It's just, where is its place on that page now in terms of comments in SharePoint or comments in Yammer?
Well, and this is the last thing I'll say about this, so we can move on. But I think perfect world for me is I want a Yammer conversation to be about the page I'm on, or at least the site I'm on, and I want it to work. I don't want to have to go and find the link and copy the embed for that particular thing. I want it to just happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I want it to be automatic, and so my users can just use it. Because if it's not automatic, I have to set it up, or the page, or the site owner, who may be a business user or power user, that's fine. They have to set it up, but they got to follow this. I got to do this and this, and kind of point and do all this kind of stuff. I want it to be automatic,
rather than, hey, let's create a brand new conversation, embed it on the page, and everything's kept in those threads. Yeah. So maybe, I don't know. We know that Yammer's pace of development has been slow for a bit as it was trying to get into Azure and doing all sorts of infrastructure things. Yeah. Now the pace is picking up. Maybe we'll see something in the next 3 to 6 months.
Yeah. Maybe.
Watch this space.
Yeah.
Right. And we have.
Yes. Collaborating with people.
Now this is a big deal, but there's an action required. So what is it to start with? Collaborate securely with anyone in Microsoft Teams. What have we had up until this point?
If you wanted to collaborate in Teams, you had to add someone to. You had to create essentially an entity in your own Azure Active Directory, and that's how they got in. It was frankly convoluted.
Yeah.
The process didn't often work in the way you thought it would, because there was delayed. Like,
so
it would
do they need to have an Office 365 account from a different tenant? So, like you and I, you're part of a team that we've got regarding 365. It's sitting in my tenant.
Yep.
You had to have an Office 365 account.
Yes, I had to have a 365 account to get access to that. But it was actually creating an entity in your Azure AD.
Yeah. So it's that B2B. I'm trusting your account. You can come and be part of my team. But it was only you had to be in Office 365 and somewhere in all those tenants that are out there. So the change here now is you can have any email address as long as you're signing in and associated with a Microsoft account.
Yeah, and so this is back to where SharePoint had this problem.
Yeah.
And so we got that. SharePoint world. SharePoint got that. But I will say it's not perfect world. It's just not, because the process of getting your account associated with a live ID, basically a Microsoft ID, is not a fluid experience. It's not a 1-2 click thing. It's a there's several steps if it's not connected. And that part is not, because here's the scenario where I am trying to solve with this. All right, it's I want to collaborate with a client, and so I create a team for our intranet implementation. Okay, so I've done this. We've implemented several intranets here lately using a product, and it's a rapid deployment for an intranet.
Yeah.
I can get your intranet up in 2 weeks, and I need you to start creating content like news posts and all this kind of stuff. I need you to get going. I need to be so beginning to 2 weeks. I can have your intranet, and it's a beautiful whatever.
Yep.
Well, I want to collaborate with that person. I want to have a discussion, not an email.
You send them an invite to.
So I send them an invite to Teams,
using their.
Right. So if they're in Office 365, we could do that. They have to switch tenants and all that. I still don't like that. I just don't. But it was really convoluted. But what if they're not? What if they're not in 365?
What if they're on Gmail? What if they're in a domain hosted?
Then I got to give them instructions on, okay, click here and do this and do that, and it's not easy. It's not fluid to say, I want to do this and this. I want to sign in. So here's the account that the invite was sent to. So there's the email address.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't have a live ID. Do you want to associate? Yes, and it just does it. And they move on rather than not, right?
Yeah,
I don't know.
And so this is, like you say, historically that has been how they gave external guest access to SharePoint Online.
Yeah.
You had to associate yourself with a Microsoft ID.
Yeah.
I actually, back in the day, did this comparison because a lot of people complained about it. I said, well, you have no problem signing up for a Gmail account. They said, yeah, no problem, we do that. Well, let's have a look at that. Let's have a look at the form. Let's have a look at all the fields. And how many fields do you fill out for Gmail? Oh, about 10, 12. All right. How many do you fill out for a live ID? 10-ish. So what's the problem? And then I took them over and said, okay, I'll compare that to Facebook. Well, okay, there's only 3, and then it does all some verification.
Yeah.
So we have come a long way now where Microsoft accounts are simpler to sign up for. But the real core, not roadblocker, but speed bump is if you're not using Microsoft credentials all the time, it's always that, I've got to collaborate with Daniel now. Now, what was those credentials again? Hopefully I've signed up.
That's it.
Save them somewhere.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And because, the forms are similar, but I'm using a Gmail address with a Microsoft account.
And that's the only reason I sign in.
And it's confusing.
Yeah.
And am I going to remember that password? And then I got to go through a password reset process. And now that works, but it's like, that's the confusion part. And I get it.
Yeah.
I understand. But, to be able to enable Gmail or enable some other mail service, then Microsoft would have to trust that entity.
It's about federated access.
Right. And so I don't know that they're ever going to do it. I don't know.
Well, I mean, they have done it in other services on the public side.
Yeah,
allowing
you
to sign in with your Facebook account, allowing you to sign in with Gmail. But when it comes to the corporate worlds, you're wanting to have more control over who gets access to your data. So it's either a 365 account that I trust and I federate with that, or it's a Microsoft account.
Yeah, and I get that. But what is the security difference between me letting you sign in with your Gmail account so Gmail trusts you and so I'll just let you sign in, or you signing up for a live ID with that Gmail? Now,
I guess there's no difference.
There's
you're
no
still
difference.
In control of the email address, your own password, and ultimately it's still creating an object in your AD which you can revoke.
Yeah, right. And I think maybe there's some legal stuff in there, because you signed up, you signed some contract that frankly anybody could get out of, any lawyer could get you out of, but it's so maybe that's it. But it's just that whole thought process of I have a Google account or I have an Apple account or whatever account you use. Now I've got to create a Microsoft account, but use that email. It's confusing to end users. It's just confusing. So when I want to collaborate with someone to say, hey, let's get on this, it just doesn't work. I mean, it works. It's just not.
And the I guess the dream or the intention was that people would be using Microsoft accounts more for signing into Windows 10 and Windows 8 before that to roam certain settings, to be able to hook into their consumer OneDrive, but not everyone's using that.
They should. Now,
Yeah.
I'd say they should, but here's the kicker. There's technical reasons why you shouldn't start off. You open up a PC, brand new PC, and you're logging in for the first time. Don't sign in with a Microsoft ID. Create a local admin account, and then add your Microsoft. So there's even, it doesn't,
Consumers,
it works great, except that there's some gotchas. And, so anyway, it just, I agree that they, it's a great thing. This announcement, it's a great step. And it will enable it.
It is. So coming back to that Teams thing, as you say, it is widening the capability to collaborate securely with more people.
Yep.
In fact, it says anyone. So anyone who's going to go through the sign-up process for a Microsoft account.
Anyone.
Yeah. So it is anyone.
Yep.
But I mean, we have been waiting for this.
Yep.
And it does allow us to invite anyone. So
Daryl, I think I've been talking too much.
you have.
Yeah.
Should we move on?
Yes, we should. Sorry.
Updated features. A Message Center automatic language translation update, which we've talked about.
Yep.
Recapping, meaning that when you log in as an admin and you're seeing your Office 365 portal and you're working in admin features and stuff, that it will update the language to your tenant language.
Right, that's the way it has before. And so there's a setting in the admin center. This is saying, okay, we got your feedback. If I have a German setting, for instance, a German language setting for the tenant, but I want to read things in French, I should be able to change it and say French. And yes, you can now.
Right. So this is the thing, that tenants still at the moment are based in one place. We know that the globalization of tenants and distribution is coming. For now, I might be an admin in New Zealand and there might be our head company is in France. I can set the language to, it'll detect that I want to read things in English, and then I can, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, and it happens a lot more than just that. Like, you think about countries who have two languages, and so which one's the official one? Well, they're both. I mean, like Quebec and Canada, they're both English and French. So which one are you going to display? So if you have a tenant French, but your admin is English most of the time, so this is good. More choice, power to the people.
Yeah. Now that's considered a general availability update, a major update, because we actually see that card if you have a look in the background. Now that we've read it, it's no longer bold.
Right.
And so it's considered a general availability update because in December we rolled out the change.
Yeah.
We had some feedback. There's now some more translation options.
I think it's because it has to do with the admin center itself and the admin person who's dealing with this.
Yeah.
I think that's why it is. That's my opinion. If this was an update about something else, I don't think it would be, but that's why I think.
Yeah. To me, it's like general availability, that's important. Is it a major update? I don't know.
Yeah.
Lastly.
Oh, we got to be careful, Daryl.
Lastly, so this is an Exchange feature update, but it is related to group aliases, and I guess ultimately Office 365 groups too. When you're creating that group, you're able to add a dot in between two names. So it could be maybe the prefix is finance, and then dot for the subgroup in finance. Or maybe the prefix is this is a group, GRP, to signify it's an Office 365 group. And the dot, then the name that follows to identify what that group is. Is that what it is?
I don't know, because it's specifically about Exchange, and it's talking about Outlook. And so this is what confuses me about this, and that's one of the reasons I said we got to be careful about this, because
we're not Exchange experts, are we?
No, we're not, but you're exactly right. When you talk about SharePoint, you talk about Exchange, you talk about Teams, you talk about Yammer, Planner, all of those and more, those play into Office 365 groups. So when you create something like this, saying you can put a dot in the group alias, but it's a group alias, it's not the group name.
Yeah, it's an alias. So let's go back to that example of finance.
Yep.
Maybe it's finance and it's the New Zealand group. So
Yep.
the email address could be finance.newzealand, but the site or the team or the group SharePoint site that goes along with it, you wouldn't want a dot in there, would you? Would that ruin things from an address perspective?
Yeah. Well, I mean, possibly. Because if it was, I don't know. It depends on. I don't know.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: is that what if you have that alias in there, and what happens if I email that? Where does it go? Does it just go to the general, or can I make a rule that says if I receive something from New Zealand, then it goes into a certain folder for New Zealand? Rather, it's the finance. But if I receive it finance.New Zealand, it goes, I don't know.
Users will now be able to create a dot in the group alias
Yep.
when creating a group, giving more flexibility for naming groups.
Naming groups.
Naming groups.
But it's not a big G.
Yeah, and we don't see any reference in there to Office 365 groups. So
Maybe we should ask somebody about this week.
I reckon we should.
Do a follow-up.
Let's do a follow-up.
Okay.
Cool. That's all the announcements that we've got in there.
Yep.
We have been travelling, so we haven't noticed a lot on our travels in the community. We did just record today this great debate regarding 365, and we had 8 panelists. So keep an eye out for that. We'll be publishing that later next week, and we'll play that. So apart from that, it's really all go here at MVP Summit.
Yep.
And learning more about what's coming. We do value the privilege of being able to talk to the people creating the products.
Yeah, we do.
And giving feedback, and in some small way shaping how those products are made. So we encourage you to just, talk more in places like the tech community, because the product group are in there from Microsoft, and they want to hear
MVPs.
Yep. So it's not just a place to say, ask your questions, how do I fix this? But it's also, hey, I think that you should change this thing about how it works, because it will reach a wider audience.
Well, and so 2 things I want to mention there. One is when you're giving feedback like that, you need to give specific feedback about your organization. Don't say, I think this, or it should be this. Give specific feedback. My organization of 100,000 people or 1,000, whatever, are impacted by this because of X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Specific feedback. The second thing I would say is anytime you're talking about anything we talk about on the show, with whether it's in tech community or Twitter, make sure you tag us and tag Re365 on Twitter, so RE365, and as well as in tech community, make sure you link to the video so others can learn about the show, and and that'll give us and help us get feedback as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So we're pretty active and continuing to try and improve what we do. Our team are getting really close to creating other content. And just thanks for watching. We'll catch you again next week.
Yep.
Bye for now.
Bye.